in terms of art, we see things, we see movies and stuff that are told from a masculine perspective. And I find those things interesting. And I love watching movies that have men in them. I'm interested in, like, what is feminine work and feminine art? And I really don't...
And you're using the word feminine very intentionally as opposed to feminist. I mean, not to the exclusion of feminist,
and not even like female. And I really don't mean to be reductive about it. That's what I'm interested in. That's what I'm interested in making. You asked me about the Deuce. I think the Deuce is different. There's a scene where Candy, you know, she's been making porn, but she wants to make a really good movie. It's fine for her if it's porn, but she wants it to be good. So she goes out to California and she tries, for a number of reasons, and she tries to get money from this real Hollywood producer, and she has a great meeting with this guy, and at the end of it he says he'll give her $10,000, which is a fraction of what she said in the previous scene she needs. She says she needs $200,000 to $300,000. He'll give her $10,000 if she gives him a blowjob. And David told me about that scene, and he says, I think she should tell him to fuck off and she should leave. And I said, she can't do that. She has to do it. And he was like, I was also thinking that. You know, I mean, it's not like totally my idea or something. You know, he was on either side, but he was testing out on me. Okay, she walks out and blows him off. I mean, leaves. And I was like, no, she can't, because of course, it's much less usual that we as women have been asked to actually give a blowjob for money. But many women have been asked to compromise themselves in much subtler ways and have done it. And I was like, why does Candy get to be better than us? You know, she's not better than us, she's the same. And I said, but you have to have the moment with her after. That's what you have to have, please.
Right.
And I get the draft, and it doesn't have the moment with her after. And I was like, you know, David, guys, please, you got to give it to me.
David Simon's show, The Wire, I know, ended up garnering kind of a following amongst certain constituencies that were depicted in the show. Cops and apparently, you know, a lot of drug dealers really love the show. And anyway, have you had feedback? Have you heard from sex workers?
I'm trying to think of how to put this. I definitely, like, they're with me now, but they weren't sure at first. There was a moment, which I had fixed, but where whatever the publication was, like, misquoted me as saying, like, it would be impossible to keep your mind intact, which is like, of course I didn't say that. Candy has her mind intact, you know? I mean, anyway, I said, so anyway, I got a lot of pushback, and I ended up getting in touch with, just through Twitter and, like, email, and we talked, and I really listened. I really learned a lot from them. I still believe that I in my imagining of that work, that it must be very, very difficult and require a huge amount of disassociation just for me to have to pretend to fuck all these day players who I never met before. I found incredibly difficult and disturbing.
Well, speaking of that, I heard you say on NPR that you all had created kind of a new job on this set and hired an intimacy coordinator who, it sounds kind of funny, but it's not. It's really an interesting and good idea, it seems like. So the idea, right, is that, like, if you're doing a fight scene, there's a fight what's that person called? A fight coordinator. And if you're doing sex scenes all day long, you also need somebody to ask people, hey, are you okay? Do you need anything?
Yeah, I mean, basically, this is, you know, like what I'm talking about, people sort of waking up and going, whoa, why did I accept this? And why did I accept this? And our president gets to say out loud, you can grab women by their pussy if you have enough power, and nobody cares, and they just elect him president anyway. Or, I mean, what's happening now in the Supreme Court? You know, I think we just started going like, whoa, what? And because of all that, at that time, I was in some meetings with other actresses. And one of the things we were talking about was, it was sex scenes. Even if someone, like, just pretends to slap you or whatever, there's always a stunt coordinator there. There's always somebody there who is looking out to make sure that you're physically safe. And there's not with sex scenes. And why not?
Are these, like, kind of the meetings when you were setting up Time's Up, the legal defense fund? Or
it was just very early on, like, before that.
Okay.
Kind of casual I just was like invited to a couple of meetings and went and listened to, and spoke with women who I really admired, who are actresses.
Do women in Hollywood like not get together a lot? Has there been
Actresses?
Yeah.
There's a kind of a thing, I think, where you're like, well, I'm in direct competition with these 5 people all the time, and not really. Like I don't like most of the people who get jobs that I want. I think are really good,
right.
So, and I do have like just real respect for, and yet there's a kind of a weird thing.
Do you think there's been a mounting sense of solidarity amongst women?
Yeah.
You can say no.
No, I do think so. Yeah, I do. In general.
Right.
Yeah. And in Hollywood too. Yeah, I think so. Yes. I
know. I mean, you went to the Women's March.
Yeah.
In Washington, right? Who did you go with?
I went with 2 girlfriends.
Let's talk about directing. So this Ferrante adaptation that you're doing, Ferrante essentially gave her this incredible benediction. What she wrote was, women have to contribute to an artistic genealogy of our own that stands up in terms of intelligent refinement, skill, richness of invention, emotional density to the male tradition. Tell us about this project.
Well, Ferrante also was, I had that same experience I had watching the piano or reading The Kindergarten Teacher, where I was like, whoa, this is going in pure. Like, I have never heard these things articulated before, and I'm comforted by hearing it said out loud. I said what I wanted to say to her about how I imagined The Lost Daughter. And she came back and said, you can have the rights, but you have to direct it. I'm only giving the rights to you to direct. I said I wanted to direct it, but really there was a moment a few months later where I was like, well, I mean, I don't know. What if we can't finance it with me directing it? And what if something happens? And she said, no. It makes me want to cry, actually, because it's like a woman who I admire basically saying, like, you can do it.